Sue, Bunny, ByuN. Round of 20, Group B. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2022 GSL Season 2.
It's time to eliminate somebody. It is going to come down to these two players, Zest and ByuN. The winner goes off to face off against Sue. And I don't really know what to expect with Zest and ByuN here. I do feel like they both have looked good. I think it could go either way, to be honest, the more I kind of reflect on it. What about you?
I've got to agree with you. I mean, Zest at times, when he's playing his game, he's one of the best PvT players in the world. His timing attacks are insane. He's got a really good grasp on this matchup, but at the same time, ByuN, I mean, I guess he's really the question mark for me. Like, he can be so hot, he can be so cold.
Yeah. You know, Zest is also a player who's kind of known for getting in there and doing a lot of damage right away. I mean, you basically have two real fighters coming into this, so that can also make for some strange-looking games as well.
Yeah, especially depending on the map spawn we get on Nautilus too, because if we get another close air spawn like that as opposed to cross spawns, things can get crazy really quick with these two guys. Yeah,
Nautilus, we won't know until it loads up, basically. But the good news is it's loading up right now. Guys, this best of 3 will decide who is eliminated and who goes on to face off against Sue in Group B of the GSL.
I came for war.
Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Zest. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
So once again, we have these spawns where the Terran is spawning counterclockwise to the opponent, and so them pushing into the third base, if it's going to be a siege tank push, which at times can be very difficult to deal with Protoss players in the early game in this matchup, it could be deadly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whenever you have close proximities like this, certain ideas get amplified, right? So, you know, one thing about TVP in general on this map is that it's not exactly like, you know, one race inherently has to just outgrow the other. Like, you know, it is with Zerg versus a Protoss or a Terran, where the Zerg is just kind of growing and growing. It does seem like if you get into a longer and longer game, Protoss could start to take more bases. You know, there's a lot of different ways the matchup can go for sure. But in this case, they are both sharing the bottom. Terran does have a harder time on any map growing out of their quadrant of the map, where Protoss kind of can get away with it a little bit more easily, even though there's a lot of things that are mobile about Terran, like medevacs or having a planetary that can protect itself. I mean, the warp ability and recall is just on a whole other level.
Yeah, you can't just warp in an army at whatever base you desire, and fortunately for Zest, he's going to scout ByuN last, so he will be able to confirm it's a Reaper at the cost of that probe. And does know the positions now. ByuN is going to go to the middle, and I feel like once he identifies where Zest is, I wouldn't be surprised if he just fully committed onto a timing attack for that reason that you stated, that it is quite hard for Terran to take a fourth base, even in these positions. And these positions, they definitely do favor some kind of big timing push. But one thing I do want to say is when we had the intro of the show, they showed the stats of these players against each other. And I was so surprised because these two players have played 303 online matches against each other. Zest has won 152 and ByuN has won 151.
That is crazy.
That's nuts to me.
Yeah, to have played that many times. And I guess it kind of makes sense because going into this, normally I can pick a favorite. And I thought, I don't know, I feel like I've seen these guys beat each other a lot, right?
Oh, wow. Really good catch there by Zest.
Yeah, he's not going to see the blink that's coming here. And this is going to be 2-gate blink, right?
Yeah.
And probably a third in a little bit here, unless he takes a really fast Nexus, which this doesn't seem to be as trendy now as it once was. And so it's going to be a Robo here.
Is he looking? He's not. We've all been there.
Yeah, he's going to go back and be like, what? Oh.
Those cheeky Widow Mines. But at least Zest now has that on his radar, that there's probably going to be some kind of Widow Mine drop coming in. So we'll see how well he prepares for that, because Widow Mine drops, I mean, they did nerf, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, the Drilling Claws upgrade barrel time, but otherwise it's pretty much the same, and 2 Widow Mines have the potential to get a lot of damage done if they aren't handled perfectly, but luckily for Zest, with Stalkers out and a probe spotting, should be able to deal with this.
This is one of the harder early game things in all the matchups to deal with, is the moment the Widow Mines come in. Went through the blind spot. Because if you're not watching and you don't evacuate in time, you are going to be punished.
Not too bad there. Oh, even going to get a Widow Mine. Oh, and Blake's finished.
Yep. I was holding my breath. That's what happens when you A-click. Did not click down the medevac first, but it's fine. He kills that. So that's actually ByuN losing more than he got from the drop. You know, and this of course, it's a thing about drops, right? I mean, if you lose everything and don't really take that much from it, you kind of put yourself behind.
It's the thing about ByuN specifically, too. I feel like him, more so than the average Terran player, will take those risks, because just on an average, it usually pays off more often than it doesn't.
Right. Yeah, it's a thing about ByuN as well is he doesn't seem to be as calculated with his engagements. He's just really fast and good at controlling. So I will say, even though Zest survives that drop, it was a very greedy third base here.
Yeah. 2
gates, Robo, just some Stalkers, and gets a third base up. I think an auto turret's going to be chucked down here to kill some workers off. But, if you get a third base up and can start to really get the perks of that pretty quickly, you start to mine from it right away, you could actually get a pretty good army to fight. The problem is that this is a 2-base push coming in here, and ByuN is interrupting the mining at both sites.
Yeah, Zest's already lost 6 probes as well, which is more than you would expect to get if you were at ByuN, and that's gonna hurt. That's a lot of lost mining time. That's a lot of workers going down, and a really critical junction here for Zest, because he really needs his economy to be kicking on all cylinders to be able to handle this push that's going to come out from ByuN.
Now, there's a War Prism coming out at a kind of funny time. I actually thought the push was about to come from ByuN, by the way. When I saw the army out there and the medevac, I thought, okay, well, I've seen this before. But he's actually staying back, and I think he's even getting a 3rd command center here.
Huh. I was right there with you. I thought there might be a push coming.
Am I crazy?
Soon,
that's a 3rd right down there, I think.
Yeah, I think you're correct. That's a 3rd CC going down in the main
it's
base.
just a really big barracks, Tasteless. So, I feel like this complements what... I mean, I think Zest likes the situation, basically.
Oh, yeah.
His 3rd base has just been mined for longer. The threat's not there. Something, I think there's something that ByuN saw that made him think twice and pull back.
I think part of it is also usually when you go as the Terran player for this kind of really early push with siege tanks, there's very minimal harassment or anything that goes on before then, because you got to think about, like, the factory time. Instead of making tanks, you made 2 Widow Mines, which got nothing done. The starport, you almost lost a medevac. Yeah. You didn't get anything done then, so you lose a little bit of tempo. And as a result, maybe he felt that if he was going to push out, he might just get overwhelmed by the charge zealots and stalkers. So we'll see. But there is a little bit of a silver lining here for ByuN, which is that Zest doesn't know for a fact. He didn't know for a very long time whether the push was going to come, and the threat's always there. So Zest, in the meantime, he hasn't really been getting a lot of upgrades. He hasn't been getting a lot of high-tech units, because he knows that he needs to produce units in case ByuN attacks.
Yeah.
So it kind of works in ByuN's favor in that way, in that his army, Bio with tanks and medevacs, continuously scales better, whereas the Zealots and Stalkers, they're good in kind of like medium, small engagements against Bio, but once you hit this critical mass that we're starting to see move across the map, Protoss really starts to need other tools.
Yeah, and we see those tools coming. I mean, the Immortal just came out. We've got the robotic support bay. But yeah, I mean, ByuN's supply, especially an army, is exceeding what Zest has. Zest has a Colossus coming in here. There might be like a small moment where ByuN's army is just going to be better if he can kind of get in there before these 2 Colossi come out. But if he's going to do that, he needs to basically attack right now because, you know, Chrono boost out those Colossi pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Zest actually has a couple of sentries as well, so without any Vikings, there really isn't going to be a chance for ByuN to get on those Colossi once they pop. So right now might be the time, but the Colossi are already really close to production. 4 Immortals out too, and that's a lot of force fields, but we'll see what happens right now as ByuN is coming in. He's going to stim forward. Shield overcharge goes off, and some bio is getting picked off by these force fields, but ByuN just can't quite break this position just yet. And the Colossi, the first one's popped, the second one's about to, and Thermal Lance is on the way now as well.
Is there still no observer over here? I guess not. Look at the patience here from Zest. He just sort of moves the Immortals back ever so slightly. And you can see he's just not able to really make a dent over here. A small drop, which was basically, you know, this was all designed to try to make all the Stalkers in the main turn around. But it didn't work. And so it's just, you know, going to be a few Stalkers over here. This is going to be cleaned up over time. This is no real existential threat here to Zest.
And now looking at the minimap, we have a lot more units coming out from ByuN, so he's really committing for this push. He scans as well. Most of the force fields were depleted there, so here we go. The first Colossi is going to get pushed back right there, and now Zest pushing forward right now. These guys going blow for blow, but Zest's army looks really powerful right now, and the Immortal count is so high, and ByuN's army is so many Marauders, but no! Look at this Concave, he's just pushing forward, he's just manpowering his way through. All of the critical units go down for Zest, and maybe Zest will be able to hold this just barely, but he took huge damage.
I think actually ByuN may have, like, in the course of 4 seconds or so, just like won this game, because it killed the Immortals and the Colossi. I mean, we have another Colossus coming back here. Oh my God, the War Prism, where did that just like drops from the top of the screen and takes damage? I don't even know what's going on here.
Feels like an F2A move kind of situation right there.
I actually think now ByuN, if he can regroup, can actually attack it and win.
Yeah, all the critical units died there. I mean, I was looking at the army comps, it's just like all Marauders and a couple of siege tanks, and I'm thinking, oh, surely the Immortals will be able to clean this up. But somehow ByuN just makes it work.
I mean, not to mention, like, if you lose all of your robo units, like, usually that's a sign that, like, you're not going to be in a healthy position later on. Now, he needs to get some more medevacs out here and get some more energy, but I think we're going to see ByuN come back twice as strong. Although the supplies are similar, the army compositions should be pretty good.
The one thing to the credit of Zest, though, is that he does have that 2 robo up, so he will be able to replace those critical units more quickly than otherwise. I would feel like if it was 1 robo, he might just be dead, but as it is right now, he will be able to rebuild those critical units. The problem now, though, is that ByuN has ghosts, and ghosts are going to be a huge boon to this army.
Okay, another, oh, nice blink in. A shutdown there, a much-needed victory here for Zest. The 4th base comes down at the bottom. Again, we have a kind of a similar situation to the ByuN Su game where, like, they're just uncomfortably close to each other. Stalker's coming up. He could end up sniping these ghosts, or...
Oh, get out of there. That hurts a lot. Really don't want to lose any Stalkers in this position right now. Zest has to play this situation perfectly if he wants to survive, and...
We do have some more Vikings coming in here, intended to try to hit those Colossi at great distances. Zest moves up towards the center and is kind of going around this 4th base. I may be wrong. Does he actually know that 4th base has been taken? I'm sure he might suspect it, but I don't think he ever actually got vision of that area.
I think he has an observer down there on the bottom.
I think you're right.
I see that little tiny blue dot. But Zest, right now, his army, I think, can take ByuN's in a fight. The issue is going to be once the Viking count gets high, I'm not sure, because this army for ByuN, it's going to continue to scale better and better, and he even has an upgrade advantage right now. I mean, Zest is just now starting +1 armor, and yes, his attack upgrades are good, but ByuN's about to go on +3 attack, and I mean, watch how fast these probes are going to get melted down by these Marines. Like, those 4 probes just drop instantly. He's lucky he didn't lose any more.
Nice
EMPs. No, all force fields are gone now.
Oh, but kind of a clunky fight over here, fighting on this edge, which really optimizes the Colossi damage. But I think he might just have too much. The last Colossus goes down, and all I see is a ByuN army that cannot be stopped.
Oh, man. Zest, he needed those force fields. No force fields, and he cannot control the fight at all, and ByuN just pounces on his army. Those Colossi, they just drop like they're made of paper.
Dude, it's kind of crazy, man. It like looks like it might be close, and then suddenly ByuN is like going to win. I saw this this video on Twitter of this guy getting grabbed by a orangutan and being pulled in the cage. Video. You know, it's how he grabs his shirt. It's like the scariest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. But that's what happens when you just stay in an attack with ByuN. He goes, then he holds on to your leg.
Yeah, man. That was some really good play there by ByuN, man. The first fight at the third base, it was looking like Zest had all the tools he needed to be able to hold on to it, and ByuN just somehow powers his way through, and then again in the mid-fight, Zest isn't looking for a second. All of his sentries get EMP and they get taken out. Phenomenal control by ByuN. It's why we love him. It's why he's a fan favorite.
Hardwire for map 2. If Zest doesn't win here, he's out of the GSL.
I came for war.
Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Zest. Shopify Rebellion, ByuN.
Okay, man. I mean, ByuN, it's funny. I don't mean to say that he's bad when I'm describing this, but you know, you can see the difference between ByuN and Bunny. Like, Bunny is so much more refined, but ByuN is still scary.
ByuN is very scary.
Yeah, it's like there's been a couple moments in these games where you look at it and you go like, okay, well, you know.
That's still my girlfriend. I still want to win.
Excellent sign.
It's one of the funniest signs I've seen in a while.
Dude, I know. It's so fun having an audience down here again. So good having you guys and girls showing up to the show.
We love our fans.
Yes, after having an empty studio for so long. But yeah, I mean, when we're talking about ByuN and how strong he is, I mean, he just seems to be so able to force these fights. Like, we saw the infantry get stuck on that pillar in the middle of that fight, and it's like everything is being hit by 4 Colossi, but then he still busts through. And that's the thing about ByuN, is like a lot of other players will retreat and kind of be more cautious, but ByuN, if he really thinks he can actually win it, he'll force a fight. And you know, Terran with Stim specifically, you can stutter step like through an army so fast if you take it right, and you just click down each of the correct targets.
Yeah, I feel like in a perfect world, Zest could have won that fight if the sentries don't get EMP'd, because the longer the fight goes on, he's able to utilize the extra range of the Colossus. He's able to segment different units coming out from ByuN and control that zone by that pillar. But ByuN just, again, killer instinct. Like, we saw this in his TVTs. Even though he lost the series in game number 1, he would just stim and go for it in situations that were potentially very dangerous. And he made it work. And then the same situation against Zest. He comes in, he identifies, oh, if these sentries get EMP'd, I can just kill this army.
Yeah.
And it melted. It just completely melted.
No, it was crazy, man. So, I mean, this time he scouts the Stargate. Also with the Zealot poke coming in here. Obviously, when you see this, you know that there's going to be something aggressive coming from Terran, and the drop is... oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, I decided this was a drop. He's actually just going to burrow the Widow Mine behind the refinery. I remember when people first figured this out, by the way. The fact that this game it's like 3D, but it's really from a 2.5D perspective. And so the tops of the buildings kind of go over the ground behind it. And so you can just kind of stuff Widow Mines back there, and it's a little bit harder to see.
For me, it's not the ones that are like behind the refineries that get me. It's the ones that are like under the SCVs in the mineral lines that get me, like right where they're mining. But yeah, he scouted the, he sacrificed the Reaper to scout this Oracle. Oh, he saw the little laser beam, the tracking beacon from that Widow Mine. ByuN now gonna move that elsewhere, but yeah, ByuN just reacting to that Oracle, making sure he's playing really safe, and as a result, not gonna lose much of anything. Zest just kind of getting some vision now and confirming exactly what's going on there in ByuN's base, but it's Nothing out of the ordinary, and Zest just going to go blink and take a third.
Now, this is, as far as the Protoss is concerned, I mean, you're not trying to really get that much done here. You're basically trying to be safe. It's the moment where, you know, we're done with the Oracle coming in to scout, figure out what's going on. Basically, you see, okay, they did not get a second base quickly. I'm going to get my third right away here, and all I need to do is make sure I don't take a tremendous amount of damage from drops. Now, let's not forget, this actually happened in the game before. Circumstances to get there were a little bit different, but Zest handled any aggression very easily from ByuN. I mean, ByuN powered through at the end of that game, not at the early part. And that's important to note because every game when you're at the pro level, it starts out with a certain build order that you're trying to get to somewhere, and there's certain sequences. But
yeah,
as you get further and further along, the game kind of takes its own shape and form. And I think that ByuN is a little bit better at fighting and kind of maintaining in those games compared to Zest, who I think is very much, I'm probably not articulating this right, like kind of railroads himself into the builds he's trying to do.
No, I think
that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I feel like part of that is just the styles of these players are very different. I mean, Zest, as you said, he usually sticks a little bit more to a game plan and a build, whereas ByuN just kind of feels like an agent of chaos. And hold that thought for a moment, because it looks like Zest is thinking about causing some chaos, but I'm not sure about that blink up, and it seems like Zest isn't either.
Yeah, we've seen this used before. It's kind of an alternative approach to the Observer Stalker blink into the main, where basically you can have your third, and if you realize you're not going to be attacked at all, like in this case, ByuN's not going to drop, as we can see. He's made a Raven as an example. Then you try to set up a pin. And this used to kill like every Terran all the time, to the point where it looked unstoppable until Terrans would like put a siege tank in their main in a spot where the Stalkers can't reach it, have infantry ready.
One main thing to note here is that Zest's goal now, it's not to do damage, it's to try and stall this push as much as possible, because there is no third CC for ByuN. The medevac count is really low instead. ByuN made siege tanks, he made a Raven, he has one Widow Mine. Those are the only two medevacs I think on the field right now.
Yeah,
ByuN is going for the killer move, and so watch to see Zest try and kite and pick off as many Marines as it can, maybe even this Widow Mine that's poking out a little bit too far forward. Just do any damage, because this army for ByuN, if it gets entrenched in a very defendable position, can be so hard to kill. +1 ground weapons is going to finish for the infantry. Stim is done, combat shields is done, and I don't know if Zest is going to be able to hold on. These situations are always very, very dire, but he does have a healthy number of Zealots.
Yeah, the Zealots are going to be a saving grace, and of course the Raven doesn't help at all against the Zealots. I guess you could auto-turret. You know, that Raven is very good if you see like, you know, Immortal or, you know, a Colossus or something out here. I don't think we have any tech that he can really do anything with that. And I think with this next wave of Zealots, no way, right? There's no way he can do this. If
he gets the armor shred on the Zealots, the bio might just melt it. So we'll have to see what that Raven gets out. He is going to put down turrets instead. And a lot of the Stalkers going down, though. ByuN with some really nice position over here on the Naturals, picking off a lot of these really high-value units. And once the Stalkers are dead, this bio is going to be able to lift up and go to the third base, and that's exactly what ByuN is doing. In the meantime, ByuN's siege tanks did get cleaned up, so Zest with a nice defense there. He does lose a lot of Stalkers, but his economy is pretty much untouched.
That was a bizarre engagement.
It was really kind of weird.
It's like we just watched ByuN like parkour through the base but lose everything on the way, where I'm like, well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like instead of those like really,
I don't even,
yeah, it's like instead of the high skill like parkour videos we'll see on YouTube, it's like the Dunder Mifflin guys doing parkour.
He's got broken
in the office.
bones, like he finished the course and stuff, but he also like lost his wallet and everything else.
Yeah, and ByuN had a lot of invested in that attack too. The CC now is just finishing back at home, and I mean, the game is not over by any means, but this has definitely swung very much in Zest's favor, and Zest might just be able to kind of power his way through because his gateway count is so high. If he goes in and gets one good engagement on this bio, he might just be able to overwhelm.
That attack for ByuN was so bad, I can't even believe it.
I think I got the concept there when he identified the situation. He's like, I can kill his Stalkers, and then I can move my bio around and drop and try and pick things off. But I guess maybe he just didn't anticipate Zest's economy to be quite as strong as it was.
It seemed like he wanted to get there and like have 2 disables on 2 important units and stim and win, and it's like, well, it's only Zealots. You know, and the thing is, if you're going to have a mass bio army against like just a bunch of Zealots and Stalkers, you need a lot of medevacs to heal everything and kite it, but instead he was like running through. Now, look, I mean, the game has gone on. There's certainly more medevacs and Marauders and Marines here, so maybe he can take the next fight. Army supply is very even. There is, he's going to try to bait.
Oh my god,
Oh,
that was
dude.
a huge stasis ward. What a trap. ByuN's going to try
Yeah.
and defend this position with Widow Mines, but you know Zest wants to pounce on this.
Yeah, a bit of an overextension there. Oh, maybe not, actually. Maybe that was the plan.
He's trying to get the Widow Mines.
Yeah.
All right. Stasis ward about to pop, but Zest, I think maybe decided he doesn't want the
Yeah,
fight.
he rescues that. They're going to get away.
There's still no splash damage out for Zest. Keep that in mind. It's
Yeah.
really just Stalkers and Zealots out.
And that is really the big issue. That's sick. Command center there, kind of walls him out.
that is pretty cool.
Yeah. It'd be funny if you just attacked the command center with the Zealots and then we're like, oh, big loss. Yeah, you're right. He's got an army that would let him live early on, but it doesn't look like it's going to get any more complicated or sophisticated, is probably a better term, as the game pans out. I mean,
Oh, that's a lot of units medevac, so there are no observers spotting this. It was 5 full medevacs, and if you're going to keep this back at home, this Doom Drop, if it goes uncontested in the main base, could be really deadly. We'll see. Keep in mind, Zest should have recall available, and he has his whole army positioned at the 4th base, but we'll keep an eye on this medevac and what it's able to do. Round of
big
Zealots getting
warp
worked in
here.
now.
I mean, can you recall enough to take this fight? And now we got a big push coming in here from the bottom as well. He's going to recall.
All right.
All right.
I mean, there's not enough
I'm like,
Stalkers here.
I don't think we have enough Zealots in this game, guys. What do you think?
The Bio's going to get cleaned up, but now ByuN is hitting the 4th base. Oh, both full medevacs go get taken down.
But hold up, he's going to get this Nexus. Oh, these two Marauders are so angry.
Gonna get that game
They
right.
were left behind.
Get the Cyber Core now. Go
Yeah,
for
go
it.
for it. We'll never let another Stalker be made in this game again.
This army for Zest, though, is just huge. I mean, ByuN lost so much supply right there. That was 5 full medevacs and 3 medevacs empty. You're going to try and return back home.
But I think he can just remake. I mean, that's the one advantage of this type of composition. I mean, it's all from the barracks, right? You get the Marauders and Marines back in there.
I hear what you're saying, but like the Viking count is really low, and we're soon going to have 5 Colossi out for Zest, who's
is
about to be
true.
maxed. And yes, there are ghosts out for ByuN, but this isn't kind of the situation we had last game where Zest is really relying on force fields to kind of take the Terran army piecemeal by piecemeal and wipe it down. He has a ton of Zealots. This is kind of an A-move toss kind of play, so I don't know exactly where this game is going to go, but if Zest decides to go for a push, I feel like it could be deadly, because looking at this bio ball, that does not seem... It does not seem like it can handle this army we have on our screen right now.
Now, and by the way, I think you make a very good point. You know, with this many Colossi, it's like just going to obliterate everything. But Terran can rely on counterattacks. You know, one thing about the Colossi, they're, even though they can walk over, you know, elevated terrain, they're actually pretty slow units. And so maybe ByuN wants to try to rely more on that.
We'll see. Zest now posturing on the west side of the map, and I think if Zest had a better idea of exactly what ByuN's situation is back at home, he might be pouncing on this, but a little bit in the dark right now. You see he's worried about a drop in the main base too, as a lot of Stalkers are back at home as well. And
Yeah, I guess it should be noted too, Zest doesn't have a lot of spots to counterattack. They're both playing very tight games here.
That's a great point. Disruptors now being added into the mix for Zest, as well as Blink DTs to eventually snipe potential 5th and 6th bases if planetaries do go up there. These 2 Disruptors, once they're done, if they reach this army, they have a lot of potential to swing this game around, because it's really hard to micro those ghosts away from the Disruptor shots.
Yeah, he's going to have to be very careful how he approaches this. He's going to drive him away. It may be in ByuN's best interest to throw down another command center or two. You know, when you have the Colossi Stalker army, everything kind of has to be together to work. And, you know, it is a pretty mobile army, but I think the Terrans is a little bit more mobile.
Yeah, this army for ByuN now is really powerful. Zest's going to need a big Disruptor hit.
Oh, get that Disruptor.
Yeah, sniped immediately.
Oh my God. He's like, remember when I parkoured and lost everything? He's like, watch me this time. I'm going to do it with more.
Fighting back now. Most of the Colossi are going down. These Vikings getting good trades in.
Dude, the Vikings are doing exactly what they need to do. And now he's going to run away from the Colossi. Disruptor shot down immediately. Oh, dude.
ByuN is taking some really favorable trades right now. All the Zealots going down as well. And you see Zest supply plummet all the way down into the 80s.
And he just runs out. He's like, okay, I killed everything I needed to kill. Let's heal up, rebuild, and I think probably win this game.
Yeah, Zest a little bit overeager there, overextending with the disruptor shots, not able to make anything happen with them, and as a result, he loses almost all of his armor supply, kind of in a similar position to game number 1, where all of the key units just got sniped, and now if you're Zest, what, you're making Stalkers, you have 1 disruptor, you're making 2 more? I mean, ByuN's gonna slip against those disruptor shots and laugh at your army.
Yeah. I feel like we've never seen a disruptor shot finish until now, right? Like every time we see them fire, ByuN is like jumped over the stalkers and shot the disruptor in the face.
Yeah, ByuN just looking unstoppable at this point. Zest needs the disruptor shots of his life with these 2 that are coming out right now, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Okay, I mean, Zest is hanging on. The supplies really do tell the bigger story, though. You know, he's not able to kind of get something of the size that he needs. And Terran can slowly chew away at whatever else is here to defend. This Nexus is going to fall shortly unless Protoss can turn this fight around.
I think this is going to be it, man. The Liberators are just locking this down. This By army is so powerful. That's going to be it. Zest is eliminated. ByuN will meet Sue in the final match.
And ByuN, again, looking just in great condition here. ByuN versus Sue coming up next, man. That is a match to be really excited for. And I don't know who's better out of the 2, to be honest.
On paper, it feels like it could be really close, but I'm worried about Sue. I mean, the matchup against Bunny was quite one-sided. He did play very well against Zest, but I don't know exactly where his ZBT is at right now.
I don't know how that Zest game is going to help in this matchup, right? So, Zest is the first to be eliminated. I'll tell you, man, I love Zest. I've been a fan of his play for a long time, but he did not bring modern play to this, and so he's out. Guys, short break coming up next. Sue vs. ByuN.